Hi all, welcome to the new video. May 17th is observed as World Hypertension Day. World Hypertension Day is observed every year on May 17th since 2006. In the year 2005, it was observed on May 14th. So since 2006, World Hypertension Day is observed on May 17th to raise the awareness of the disease hypertension and to promote how it is to be prevented, how to control, how to detect the hypertension. That is the aim of this particular day. The term hypertension was coined by Eberhard Frank in the year 1911. He found out that there is an elevated blood pressure, but the cause was not to be found. So what is hypertension? Hypertension is the elevated or increase in the blood pressure. So we tell it as systemic hypertension. What are the types of hypertension? We have primary hypertension, secondary hypertension. So before that, you have to know what is blood pressure. Blood pressure is the lateral pressure exerted by the column of blood on the vessel wall. There are four types of blood pressure: systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, mean arterial pressure, and pulse pressure. So as I told, hypertension is the elevated blood pressure. It's also known as systemic hypertension. We have two types, primary as well as secondary. Primary is actually the major thing what we see. It's a benign hypertension, or primary hypertension is around 90 to 95% of hypertension is benign, whereas 5 to 10% is secondary. So secondary can be due to many other causes, mainly the endocrine causes. We have endocrine, a list of things in endocrine. So endocrine causes is one of the main thing in secondary hypertension. Renal causes, it can be due to obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. It can be also due to coarctation of aorta. So these many causes are there for secondary hypertension. Primary hypertension, that is the majority of the cases. Primary hypertension, we have environmental factors as well as genetic factors. So environmental factors, you can say weight gain. Okay, weight gain is one of the important thing. You can say obesity and weight gain. These are the important two factors we consider to be the reason for the primary hypertension. Also the risk factors, you can say weight gain and obesity. Obesity, specifically saying central obesity, the BMI is very high. So this can be the main risk factors as well as the environmental factors in the primary hypertension. Also I told you we have genetic factor, hereditary reason can be a thing. Alpha adenosine gene can be a reason for the genetic factor. Okay, so primary is a major thing. 90 to 95% is primary, that is a benign hypertension. Secondary hypertension is due to endocrine causes or renal causes or obstructive sleep apnea syndrome, or even our the condition known as coarctation of aorta. So these many things are there. So as our country, India is labeled now as the hypertension capital of the world. Diabetic capital is also India. Hypertension capital of the world is also India. So actually this day brings a speciality to raise an awareness about the disease. So what happens, what is the theme of this year? Now coming to the theme of the year. Measure your blood pressure accurately, control it and live longer. Measure your blood pressure accurately, control it and live longer. That is the theme of this year. Why this theme actually? It focuses on the efforts to combat the low awareness of the middle and the low social economic income families, to raise the awareness about this disease and how to control it, how to prevent it, how to detect it, how to manage this particular disease. One more thing is that, as I told you, obesity and weight gain is the major thing, the most important risk factors. If you control these two things, weight gain itself, the weight gain if you control, what happens, you can control means the complications. For example, the complicated thing when you have hypertension is two things you have. One is coronary artery disease, like your heart attacks, everything comes in that. Second one is stroke. You can reduce these two, you can prevent these two particular major mortality causing diseases by controlling the weight gain. So if you control weight gain, you can control blood pressure. So how much if you control? For example, you can control, not for example, it is the ideal thing what everyone says that if you reduce your SBP by 10 mm, means the systolic blood pressure by 10 mm mercury at least, and diastolic by 5 mm at least, you can reduce the chances of 50 to 60% of your chances to have CAD and stroke. So if you reduce 10 mm mercury of SBP and 5 mm mercury of DBP, you can reduce the risk of having CAD and stroke up to 50 to 60% of. See the difference. When you decrease 10 mm of SBP and 5 mm, you can reduce 50 to 60% of chance of having CAD, that is coronary artery disease, attacks and all, myocardial infarction, engine, everything comes in that, or stroke. So that much important is to reduce. So if you reduce weight gain again, you can reduce the blood pressure. So blood pressure causes, many of them says it's stress every time. More important than stress is these things, weight gain. Okay, weight gain is one of the important thing. Low diet of your potassium, magnesium, calcium. If you have a low diet of low food diet with low content of potassium, low content of magnesium, low content of calcium, you can have a high risk of having hypertension, primary hypertension especially. Okay, then even low vitamin D, vitamin D deficiency can have a factor. Smoking, alcohol, these are all the factors which can contribute to your primary hypertension. More than the stress, you have many other factors. That's what I'm saying. We all think that stress is the main thing, but main thing is the weight gain. If you have a overweight, if you are obese, try to reduce the weight. Automatically it can improve in many other metabolic disorders, can automatically come down. Okay, so many of the metabolic disorders come down automatically when you reduce your weight. Okay, so these are some of the things we have to tell here. Now blood pressure is actually the lateral pressure exerted by the column of blood on the vessel wall. It can be told as cardiac output into peripheral vascular resistance. So if you have increased cardiac output, if you have increased peripheral vascular resistance, you have increased BP. That is hypertension. So now, as of now, what is told that we all know cardiac output increases, BP increases. But actually, if cardiac output is increasing, BP to increase, there should be a renal compensatory mechanism has to fail. If the renal compensatory mechanism fails, only we have hypertension. We can elevate the BP. So increasing cardiac output doesn't match here now, because we have the renal compensatory mechanism happening. If it fails only, there is an increase in BP. So the primary thing we can say is that if there is an increase in the peripheral vascular resistance, PVR or PR, what we say, if you have increase in the peripheral vascular resistance, that is the main thing what we have increased BP. So if we have increase in peripheral vascular resistance, we have increase in BP definitely, not the increase in the cardiac output. That is what recently what you come across when you study. For many years you're studying cardiac output increases, BP increases, but BP increases and cardiac output increases means you have to have a failure in the renal compensatory mechanism. Okay, that is one more thing I have to add here. Okay, so then now what should be the optimal blood pressure? What is the identical? So we have many associations: American Heart Association, European Society of Hypertension, many associations, ESH, AHA, everything we have. So what I could found out as an Indian, what we see in Indian, as of AHA above 120 or above 130, it's like pre-hypertension, hypertension. So as of India, when we say anything, optimal BP should be less than 120 of SBP, less than 120 mm mercury of SBP, and less than 80 mm mercury of DBP. That is the optimal thing. Even ESH. So I found that ESH to be European Society of Hypertension as association is like better, I feel. So every 5 years they change to 2018 guidelines. According to 2018 guidelines, we have optimal BP as less than 120 mm of SBP and 80 mm of DBP, mercury of DBP less than, that is optimal BP. So there is normal, high normal BP. So ultimately it should be less than 140. Maximum up to 139 mm mercury is the normal SBP. Up to 89 mm mercury is the normal DBP. That is the ideal thing what we understood. So next is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 hypertension. Depends on that, every 10 mm or every like 140 to 149 mm of SBP. Stage 1 hypertension. So it goes on like a stage 1, stage 2. So ideally our optimal optimal BP should be less than 128 mm mercury should be optimal. It should be less than 140, less than 90, less than 140 of SBP, less than 90 mm mercury of DBP. That is the ideal thing we can tell as a normal. Okay, so according to ESH, AHA it is like 130 itself, above 130 pre-hypertension, then hypertension in 140, and in old age what we earlier studied up to 150 is okay, but it should be less than 140 is better. Okay, so if you have 150/90 consistently, you can have more. I come to that management. So before that, so that is the thing regarding the how much should be your BP. So your BP can have, because of BP you can have headache. You think of you might have think that I have migraine, I have my eyesight is less, I have this problem. So many other problems can be happen, but some of the problem of headache is hypertension. Consistently, if the person is having 140/100, 140/90, 150/90, that person then 22 or 23 years, 30 years, in our age group, middle age group or teenage, the reason can be hypertension. You cannot rule out. So benign hypertension is the most common cause. So if you are not coming out of those benign the causes of primary hypertension, you have to find out the secondary causes. That is secondary hypertension, endocrine causes there, renal causes there, etc. So these many things are there in that. Now primary hypertension or benign hypertension is actually due to or characterized by the hyaline arteriosclerosis. It is the hyaline arteriosclerosis happening in primary hypertension. Secondary, I told you, it is due to endocrine causes, renal causes, coarctation of aorta, sleep apnea syndrome, obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. All these are secondary causes. So now these many things are there. Now I'll come to the management. So management, how do you treat hypertension? So see, we have studied in pharmacology. I mean, those who have done second year pharmacology classification, antihypertensives, you have many list of classification. So you can consider here's ABCD. A for angiotensin receptor blockers. We have AC inhibitors other side, but here we take it as ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers. B for beta blockers, C for calcium channel blockers, and D for diuretics. Diuretics, we have thiazide diuretics here, thiazide diuretics. So ABCD. Now A for angiotensin receptor blockers, one of the main thing used. B, beta blocker is not used now as a first line of drug. This is the first line what I am saying, ABCD. The beta blocker is not used as first line. Beta blocker is used when we have hypertension associated with the coronary artery disease. I'll come to that again. So A, B, C, D. In that, A, angiotensin receptor blocker, B, beta blocker, C, calcium channel blocker, and D for diuretic. So B is not used nowadays. So first line of drug you can say A, angiotensin receptor blocker, C, calcium channel blocker, and D, diuretics. These three are the first line of drug or the front line of drugs you can say for the management of hypertension. So first when the patient when he comes, you can say start with A plus C, angiotensin receptor blockers. For example, fimsartan is a classic example. You can give fimsartan. So in our places, telmisartan is a common thing we get, telmisartan, losartan and all. Fimsartan is there, that is the best thing to give, 60 mg to 120 mg night time. Okay, that is the first thing. A, angiotensin receptor blocker, fimsartan. If telmisartan 40 mg is available in our place commonly, that also can be given if fimsartan is not available. 40 mg in bedtime. Second is C. C, you can give calcium channel blocker. What we see in our areas, nifedipine and cilnidipine are we giving. So we can have if we have a drug of benedipine, which is 4 mg and 8 mg tablets. BD or OD. BD is like, so benedipine, if you have benedipine, that is the first you can have a preference. If not benedipine, you can give cilnidipine. Cilnidipine you have 10 mg, what is available in our any areas now. Amlodipine is not at all given now. It's more commonly pedal is the main cause of amlodipine. So benedipine is the first thing if you have. When some of the places doesn't have benedipine, you can give cilnidipine. Okay, that is C, calcium channel blocker. D, diuretics, what you can give is that you have indapamide. Okay, you have chlorthalidone mainly, you have commonly what we see. So as a diuretic, thiazide diuretic, you can give indapamide. Okay, that can be given as a diuretic. So first can be given a combination of A plus C. Can give angiotensin receptor blocker such as our fimsartan, plus you can give benedipine, A plus C. If not control, you can see next you can add is A plus C plus D. You can add a diuretic along with A plus C. You can add a thiazide diuretic like indapamide. Okay. If not, then resistant hypertension. If it is resistant hypertension, you should add spironolactone. You should add a potassium sparing diuretic along with this. Spironolactone 25 mg should be added. Okay. So you have resistant hypertension here, you have to add spironolactone. So now what happened? What are things you have to look after when you have angiotensin receptor blockers to be given? Okay, you have to see whether the pregnancy is there, contraindications are there, pregnancy, renal artery stenosis, all those things you have to see. If it is there, you cannot give angiotensin receptor blockers. So AC inhibitors is there, but preferably if these are not there, you can give angiotensin receptor blockers. Now some of the complications are there in this, like you have accelerated hypertension, you have malignant hypertension. If there is accelerated hypertension, you have a new fundus. When you have a fundus examination, new fundus changes are there, and we have accelerated hypertension plus papilledema. It can lead to malignant hypertension. So these many things are there. So if we have something known as hypertension emergency and hypertension urgency. So there is something known as target organ damage. The target organ damage, like hypertension can further lead to complications like heart disease, coronary artery disease, stroke, can affect brain, kidney, renal artery stenosis. Okay, different organs it can affect. Okay, even renal artery stenosis is there. So different organs, target organ damage can happen. So target organ damage, if it is happening, if it is present, that means it is hypertension emergency. Hypertension urgency means there is no target organ damage. Okay, so there are two types of hypertension: emergency, hypertension urgency. So that is also one more thing. That is a emergency condition. Hypertension management has to be there. Okay, so normally what we see is that we have to start with the angiotensin receptor blockers if there are no contraindications. For example, fimsartan is available, 60 mg to 120 mg is available. Bedtime if you start, it is good. With calcium channel blocker like cilnidipine. If benadipine is there, benadipine is good. If not controlled, you can add diuretics like indapamide, okay, or chlorthalidone is also given. Okay, so what happens if there is a chronic renal failure with hypertension? So at that moment, first you have to start with A plus C, angiotensin receptor blocker plus calcium channel blocker. Then you have to give add diuretic. Okay, then you have to do loop diuretics has to be given. Loop diuretics. Okay, that is the one thing you give in chronic renal failure. And then if it is again resistant, you can add spironolactone. They can also be given potassium sparing diuretic. But what happens in CAD with hypertension? Beta blocker has definitely to be given. Beta blocker has to be given in a hypertension patient with the CAD. That has to be given. Okay, so beta blocker is the important thing which you cannot neglect in a patient with hypertension as well as CAD. Okay, so that is about the management. There are again many things. As far as I know, I am telling you, there are different class of what we see in our area. We give nifedipine commonly, amlodipine. That are the common things what we see there in our locality. So these many things are available. Latest guidelines are there. Latest type of treatment is there. So ideally you have to control that. You should be aware that your BP should be this much. Okay, you have a control in your BP. So this many things are happening. This many things are there. Then why the beta blocker was avoided? Because beta blocker actually increased the central systolic pressure. The central systolic pressure, it increases central systolic pressure. That's why it was taken from the first line of drug preference. But it has to be given CAD with hypertension. I told you, CAD means coronary artery disease. So those kind of information is there in this management. So that's about hypertension. Many factors, again many things to say. It's already I think more than 15 minutes of a video. So World Hypertension Day is celebrated on May 17 to raise the awareness about the hypertension, to prevent, detect and control about hypertension, to aware the different socio-economic income families about the disease, and to how to combat it and how to overcome that. Okay, so the theme for this year was measure your blood pressure accurately, control it and live longer. Thank you.